We were two peas in a pod, my aunt and I. She was the whore in the family. She didn't want to settle, she didn't want kids. She had escaped to live the crazy life in Paris. Freedom. The exact opposite of my mother. One time, she told me something about my mom and dad. Something that blew everything else up. There was an evening dance. He was 19, and she was 15. According to my aunt, he was a bit tipsy. He brought her into a small clearing, and there, he forced her. They had to get married in a hurry after that, when they learned that my mother was pregnant. Pregnant with me. My mother always worked her butt off. She would work one factory job after the other, then clean up rich folks' homes. I used to think she was the bravest person in the world. And the strongest. Of course, she had her own temper. She would get into these screaming matches sometimes. And she would drink too. But I was convinced that I could trust her. One night, I went out with some girlfriends and boyfriends. We only went to the movies, but she lectured me. "You're bringing shame on this family," she said. "People at church are talking. Something bad's gonna happen to you if you keep tempting men." I answered that if it ever happened to me, I, for one, wouldn't marry my abuser. She hit me. For the first time. She hit me again later. I was getting slapped around because she hated her life. I was blaming her for not fighting back. I wasn't going to let her treat me like this. The day after, it felt like a spell was broken. The church stank. The sculptures were ugly. And the male-dominated Jesus stuff made me sick. "You don't love me," I whispered to him. Bastard. At that very moment, and that, let me tell you, that's something I'll never forget. The Christ started to bleed. I had my first period right after my tantrum at the church. I was already 14 years old. Pretty late. But then, my body started to develop. The more my body changed, the more my father scared me. Hell, he terrified me. Not just because he was domineering. It was uncomfortable even being in the same room as him. He was always watching me, commenting on my clothes. I felt like a piece of meat. The last time she raised her hand to me, she hit me so hard. My nose started bleeding.
Perhaps I threw away that house because I was jealous of Alex's new life. In fact, I might have wanted to show your father what he was losing by losing us. Perhaps I threw away that house because I was mad at Alex. His whole stuck in nostalgia thing, I found it incredibly offensive. Perhaps I threw away that house because that was my gift to him. Perhaps I thought he needed this old relic out of his life. Like he needed me out of his life. Perhaps I threw away the house to shake up Alex. To get a reaction from him, so he could be mad at me, so he could snap out of his lurch. I'm sure all of that contributed to my reaction, to a certain extent. I was jealous, a bit petty, conflicted, And on top of that, I was a dollhouse thief. But there was something else. Something that really hurt me. And that I'm only understanding now. I was ashamed. I came to demand support from Alex. I thought it was unfair that he was already happy again. But when I came across that dollhouse, I realized that he missed you as much as I did, which is actually why I threw it away. That's the reason. The dollhouse was proof that for years I had been blinded. I was ashamed to only realize now that he too was hurting.
I understand your pain, don't you think?
How is this possible? How did I not realize that he was hurting too? And how come he never told me about it? Really, do I have to? Do I need to recall this particular exhibit of Marie's? It's a nice memory for her, obviously, but for me it's pretty bitter, even though I can't explain why exactly. A lot of memories came back to me that night. I would stand in the middle of the gallery with my eyes closed, and they'd crop up as if they were connected in some way. Come to think of it, there may be something to unearth in my own personal exhibit. We'll see. Let me show you around. Since the dawn of time, people have needed rituals to mark the big life events. Here, the artist is depicting her final farewell to her daughter. At least that's what she thought at the time. Neither Alex nor I could picture you in a tiny coffin. We really preferred that you remained with us, like fine sand in a pretty vase. But in the end, even that was too heavy. I kept thinking about it. One day, on a whim, I made the call. I didn't tell your father. I didn't feel like explaining. I just called Diane, and I told her to meet me over there, by the sea. And she didn't ask any questions, nothing. She just said, I'll be there. I was crying when we arrived at the cliff, overlooking the beach. Diane gently took out the urn from... Donnie was a good bowler, and a good man. He was a man who loved the outdoors. And bowling. I burst out laughing, and snot splurted out of my nose all over my fucking chin. And Dan was laughing too, and 1,000 particles of you flew out around us, all up in my hair. I thought it would be freeing to see you leave like this, disappear. That was the goal of this ceremony. But now I know that it didn't work. It didn't make me feel free. Rather, it made me feel... Jan's competitive spirit is unmatched. She has to be the first in everything. You can make her a little stupid sometimes. Oh, just like when she was training for tennis, or when we did hamster races. Yeah, exactly. Racing hamsters. Pretty cool, huh? We had these hamsters for a while. We won them at the village fair. Marie hated them, but we were allowed to keep them as long as they were out of her sight. And Jan always wanted to race them. Hers was really slow. It lost every race. It was an embarrassment. She had this whole training regimen, but it wasn't enough. So she brought out the big guns. And one day, her hamster was hyped to the max. Absolutely smoked mine. And that night, he died. It wasn't hard to get the truth out of her. She'd fed him coffee drops. She was kind of sad, but not really. At least he went out on a win, she said.
Let me show you something.
He wants to video chat. Oh, wow. This is, Did I ever tell you the story of the Lookout? It's a very special place for us. We were driving, Alex, you and I. It was a really hot day. Alex was at the wheel. We were on our way back from a weekend at Marie's. As usual, I was stressed out from spending time with her. I was eager to get home. I was just exhausted. So when you told me your tummy was hurting, I didn't really believe you. I remember clearly thinking, oh, she's okay. And then hearing the sound. Like snow falling from the top of a roof on the first warm day. Except it wasn't snow. It was the worst pile of vomit I had ever smelled. When he saw your face in the rear view, Alex knew he had to stop immediately. You looked truly positively puzzled. You were staring at the puddle beneath your feet, then looking around to see where it came from. And I was twisting and contorting from the front seat, but unable to help. I didn't even wait for the car to stop. I jumped out, went for your door, and squeezed you against me. I didn't care if I got dirty. I just wanted you to feel good. I thought it was my fault. I should have listened to you. Your forehead was hot. It could be serious. I carried you out to the banister on the end of the clearing and laid you on the grass. Your face was pale and your eyes were bulging, and you started screaming. Oh, dear! You were vomiting, looking up, staring in the distance, screaming, "Oh, dear! Oh, dear! Oh, dear!" And I didn't understand. I kept asking you, "What's wrong, baby?" Patting your back, pulling your hair away from your face to help. And there was a pit growing in my stomach and my eyes were welling up. I was terrified, and your dad was terrified. You were smiling. You pointed in front of you. "Oh, dear! Oh, dear! Oh, dear! Oh, dear!" So we turned around, and on the other side of the banister, there was a cliff going straight down. And down below, there was a prairie stretching between two leafy bushes, and in the middle of the prairie, there was a deer. I could have written this whole scene. He was standing tall beneath the sunset, as if holding it with his antlers, and he was looking at us, completely stunned. He was magnificent. Alex took a picture with his cell phone. And you kept repeating, "A deer, a deer," clapping your hands when he finally jumped out into the bushes. We were in a daze, you know. We couldn't believe the beauty of what we'd just seen. And then you vomited one last time on your dad's shoes. And that day, you became the world's greatest deer fan. My little deer. I read a book.
A book? Not a movie?
Nope. No moving images, just tiny written words.
What was it?
Heart Snatcher by Boris Vian. A weird and poetic book. Also terrifying, in a way. Very, very grim.
That sounds fun.
Well, actually, it's great. And perhaps you will read it one day. You'll never read it.
You're right. I won't. But you can still tell me about it.
All right. Well, there's this character named Clémentine. She gives birth to triplets and gives them these stupid names. As they grow up, she starts to behave increasingly strangely.
Such as?
starts imagining things. These situations where horrible things happen to the kids.
Okay. I understand why you might enjoy this book.
What makes you say that?
No reason. Does she do any other weird stuff?
She locks them up in cages.
Her kids?
Yes. They're nice cages, though. Very comfortable.
Oh, well, that's fine then.
They don't like it any more than you. But it gets worse.
It does?
She eats rotten meat.
Ew! Mom, what is this book?
I told you, it's weird.
Why is she doing that?
At first, she does it so that the kids get the best bits. But after a while, she starts to think that if something bad happens to her, then her kids will be spared. She would be sort of like a lightning rod, you know?
All I know is that this sounds really weird.
Definitely. But I remember reading that part, sitting in the bedroom, and I looked at you, sleeping in the crib, and what she was doing started making sense.
For real?
I knew it was crazy, but the idea of doing anything for your children, of never failing because you've done everything, I found that amazing. There was just one thing I didn't know yet. The most important part of being a parent, and also the hardest lesson to learn. You need to trust your children.
Trust them to read non-weird books?
Trust them to live. You weren't there so I could feel like a good mother. You were there to live your life, to become yourself. Seems obvious, doesn't it? But I didn't see it. So I spent a lot of my time feeling guilty. Telling myself that I didn't deserve you.
What? I don't believe it. I was your biggest fan, you know?
Really?
Of course. You're relentless. You even found the time to work on your scripts. You were working your ass off to make your stories amazing while you were busy taking care of me. How did you manage to be strong like that?
It was really hard. I almost gave up so many times. My career wasn't going where I wanted, certainly not as fast as I wanted, but I held on. You gave me so much energy.
I presume I took a lot too.
Of course, sweetie. I often wished you had an off switch, especially when I saw my face in the mirror the next morning. But that was just a detail. Every morning was magical. I'd grab you in my arms. You'd smile back. You trusted me. I had no more doubt. No more questions. I knew exactly who I was. No one had ever looked at me that way. What an incredible gift.
It's just a shame you spent your best years writing for soap opera.
Wow. You do a great Marie impression. I'm better now, you know? It still hurts like hell. But I get it. I can survive this. On a good day, I can even convince myself that it could be worse. You might have been a goth teenager.
What's a goth?
Well, I could show you a couple pictures of 14-year-old me. Unfortunately, I think they all got destroyed in a fire or something. What a shame. You've taught me all of this. You helped me open doors inside myself. That's what allowed me to grow. Of course, I'll go on without you. I have to. But it's really, really sad.
How does the book end?
What book?
Heart Snatcher.
Well, the triplets eat blue slugs, and then they fly away from their mother.
Obviously, blue slugs. And are they happy?
Very much.
There are two lessons here. First, Boris Vian was really, really odd. Really. But also second, sometimes there's no sense fighting what will happen anyway. You said it yourself to Auntie Diane. Remember?
I found myself in an impossible situation. I was thinking about you all the time. I kept telling myself it was my fault. You weren't here anymore. It's awful to love someone that much, you know?
On the contrary, I think it's beautiful.
Sure, it's beautiful and awful. So I looked for a solution.
How?
I did what I always do. I watched movies.
Like what?
Eternal Sunshine of the Spotless Mind. It's about a couple who are separating.
Mom.
I know. I just wasn't in the mood for rom-coms at the time. If I had been, I wouldn't have gone for something starring Jim Carrey. Anyway, in the movie, there's a machine that erases people's painful memories. Jim Carrey is heartbroken, so he uses that machine because that's the only way he can go on living. That's what I tried to do with you. To get you out of my mind.
Except you didn't have a machine.
No. I had medication, I had a job, and I even did a farewell ceremony. I thought that if I could get you out of my head, I might be able to feel better.
Did it work?
Of course not. Why should it? That wasn't the right way to handle things.
I made some mistakes with you two, it's true.
Oh, we turned out okay in the end, didn't we? Whatever you think.
You don't get it. There's something hanging above our heads. All of our heads. Something that's about to fall on our heads if we're not careful. It's been there forever, passed from one woman onto the next in our family, like a disease.
Are you sick, Mimo?
No, sweetie, she's not sick. This is grown-up talk.
You're right, June. Love. Love of self. It's true, I don't think I taught you that. But I think that's because no one taught me either. Or my mother.
Oh, okay, and so you're scared for Astrid? Hold on. You, Marie, the great Marie de Mange, you believe in that nonsense? There's no curse on our heads.
Next time I'll keep my mouth shut.
Unless you keep it open, actually. I know hardly anything about your life. Not a thing. But I do realize that you had a hard time. And that you're scared.
I'm not scared.
I think you are. You're scared we'll turn out like you. But we can change. Everyone can change.
My dear daughter, I'm not sure about that. Do you think so?
I know so. And that's all thanks to you. You taught us that in your own twisted, painful way, but still.
I did what I could.
And in the end, you did give us the means to change things. You've taught us how we could blow off the entire world and do whatever we wanted. That's your way of showing love, don't you think?
Love isn't my thing.
Oh, Mom, come on. You love me and I know it, in spite of your best efforts to hide it. I can feel it, and I love you.
And I love you too, Mimo.
Oh, thank you, dearest. Makes me so happy to hear you say that.
I like it better when you're nice.
Why are you not in your seat? What are you doing standing up? Marie, why is Astrid completely unlatched?
She was sweating. I just took off her sweater. No big
Shit,
deal.
I told you to keep her safety belt on. Are you kidding me?
You know, you're so uptight sometimes. Unbelievable.
I am not uptight. I would just like you
Mom,
to...
watch for the deer!
It was you? You knew, didn't you? The fight, the unlatched safety belt. I'm sure you remembered, and you didn't say anything. You just hung me out to dry with my feelings of guilt. That's it. That's the real reason. That's why I was so mad at you. I'm sure that's also why you filled in this stupid paper with my name on it. You probably thought that if anything happened to you, it would be some kind of divine justice. I would have a choice of what to do with you. And now, I have to make the decision. So what am I supposed to do, Marie? Maybe we could invent something else. We deserve that. You know, Marie, I figured out what you're missing. You've been fuming inside for years because you have no hope. But no one can live like this. Not really. I need hope. That you'll be okay. That you will heal. That life will go on. And maybe even one day, you and I can talk. Really talk. About everything. And if, unfortunately, things don't turn out that way, if you were to die, at least we'll have had this. Hope that things change. Hope to change. I'm not forgiving you, Marie. As Astrid would say, there's nothing to forgive in an accident. The only one I want to forgive is myself. I forgive myself for my failures. For not believing in myself for so long. I'm sorry I had such a hard time realizing how strong I am. In my own way. I have the strength to live. I even have the strength to help you live if it comes to that. And with some help from the people who love us, you and I can heal.
Mom, you promised we'd go to the park.
And we will. Just give me 5 more minutes, will you?
Mom!
All right, Achille. Here we go.
At last! Are you happy with your story?
I think so.
Fine. You'll read it to me later?
I'm not sure. It's not really a story for kids. And...
I want to try the red Stegosaurus today. Did you know his tail is actually a slide?
Really? Can I try it too?
Only if we buy ice cream on our way back.
Seems like a fair deal to me. Could agree to play by your rules. One last time. Very well, Marie. We agree. I'm going to tell the doctor not to take life-prolonging measures. That's what you would have wanted. But just so you know, I'm not doing this for you. I'm doing this for Diane. She loves you, you know? She doesn't want you to die. But I don't want you to begrudge her for still being alive. I'm doing this for myself as well. Because I hate you. I hate you for what you did to Astrid. I hate you for my years of defenselessness and anger. And I think I'll never be able to not hate you. I actually understand your fear of not being completely there. I understand it because that's how I've always lived. It's horrible. And it stops today.
Mom, you promised we'd go to the park.
And we will. Just give me 5 more minutes, will you? Why would I make my peace with you? I can't give you what you want. Not this time. I refuse to take on this responsibility. If Diane feels like taking care of it, good for her. I'm tired of your crooked schemes, your poison chalices. I don't want anything to do with you anymore. But don't go imagining things either. I don't want you to die. In fact, I was hoping you would live through this. That you would come back cognizant enough to think about what you've done. And that it would make you suffer. For a long time. You'll never see me again. I'm sorry I can't look you in the eyes to tell you this. And yet, that's exactly how things have always been between us. Adieu, Marie.
Mom, you promised we'd go to the park.
And we will. Just give me 5 more minutes, will you?